First up this evening, let's queer up politics. Buttigieg slams JD Vance and Peter Thiel on Real Time with Bill Maher. U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg took a sharp aim at JD Vance, who is the former President Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. He was talking on this week's Real Time with Bill Maher. Speaking as a campaign surrogate and not in his official capacity, Buttigieg delivered a pointed critique of Vance's rapid ascent in politics. Buttigieg also delved into the role of Peter Thiel, the openly gay tech billionaire and PayPal co-founder, in Vance's political journey. He highlighted the stark contradictions within the Republican Party, particularly out-gay Thiel's support for Vance despite his stance against gay marriage equality. Buttigieg remarked that Thiel is backing a candidate who opposes the very rights he embodies, Buttigieg said. Quote, "I know there are a lot of folks who say, what's going on with some of these Silicon Valley folks veering into Trump world with JD Vance and backing Trump? Silicon Valley, they're supposed to care about climate. They're supposed to be pro-science and rational and libertarians. So normally libertarians don't like the authoritarians. What's up with that?" Then he summarized the situation aptly saying, "We've made it way too complicated. It's super simple. These are very rich men who have decided to back the Republican Party that tend to do good things for very rich men." I watched this interview on Bill Maher live, and Pete Buttigieg, it cannot be underestimated what a great communicator he is. And to break it down this simple is that, Peter Thiel sits in a place of great privilege. Yes. His life is not going to be impacted whether there's marriage equality or not. He can essentially create his own reality. His stance is really more around, I'm sure, Republican tax policy, deregulation, and all of the other crazy ideas that he has. And he's basically given the middle finger to the LGBTQ plus community in his greed stance to support the Republican Party and people that are fighting against us.
Well, I'm all for people having the right to choose what party they want to be on. However, I just it infuriates me sometimes when I hear that someone LGBTQ is supporting someone that's blatantly anti-LGBTQ. I have a girlfriend. She's trans. She's a Trump supporter. I mean, like all out Trump supporter. And I'm like, girl, really? It's roaches voting for Raid. Really? You're supporting him? Anyway.
Peter Thiel's someone who didn't even want to be outed when he first was outed by Gawker, actually, which he helped finance to destroy. That's his view of pro-totalitarian is. He doesn't even like having free media around. One thing I will say, of course, an awful billionaire being an awful billionaire. But it's nice to see a presidential election story that's about a millennial criticizing another millennial, and no 80-something-year-olds are involved in this conversation at all. It's wonderful.
Yeah, because we do have a nursing home in Congress, right? And in the Senate.
The oddity is that we're actually having to watch someone that's one of us actually step out and really own somebody else's message.
Yes.
When it's like, this is our story, and you're a part of that story, big guy. Mm-hmm. Sit in that seat. Let's do something together. Let's not throw rocks because you do have that privilege, as you were saying.
The question that I regularly ask people who, say they support Republicans because of, their stance on whether it's, foreign policy or tax policy or business policies is to say, and I say this to viewers and say it to family members is to say, would you be willing to support a Democratic candidate who supports our life and supports our identities, but say you just don't support, because they'll typically say, oh, I don't support that part of the Republican Party that's against LGBTQ. I'm just really for lower taxes. Well, there's another choice. It's called to support a Democrat and say you're not for their tax policies, but you are for their social policies.
Yeah.
But money usually wins.
Yeah, right, exactly. Putting money over everything else. Yeah.
And I remember the old saying, socially liberal, financially conservative. And people used to say that. I'm always like, so you don't care what I do in bed, but you don't care if me or more marginalized people can't afford to eat or can't have a home or don't have a roof over their head. I always am very suspicious of people who do put certain economic, their own personal pocketbook. And I don't mean to make sure they have financial economic security. I mean to enrich themselves. I'm always suspicious of those people that advocate.
Exactly.
And I think lastly, I want to point out, JD Vance was really, handpicked and made by Peter Thiel when we're now in an election where we're getting blowback against our supposed new president nominee Kamala Harris for being a DEI hire when JD Vance was given basically a glide path to the Senate with Peter Thiel writing a check. So
exactly,
the richness is not lost on.
And don't let me get on JD Vance because I heard about his story, like where he comes from and the struggle and how his mother was, on drugs for many years and stuff. And then you think someone that goes through that struggle would have compassion for other people, like, the trans community and other people in our community and across the board that are struggling. It's like, oh, I got mine, so F everyone else.
And that's basically the mentality.
Yeah.
As long as I get mine, I really don't care what's going on with you. And shame on you for not being able to get it too.